Alright guys, this is a fragrance I've been waiting for a while. I featured it in an upcoming releases video of fragrances I was excited about. It's Burberry's Hero in the Eau de Parfum concentration. Just launched. I just got it from Bloomingdale's. I walked in and bought it and came back to do a first impressions video. I didn't smell it or anything, so this is going to be first impressions on camera for you. I do have the original, which I did a video of last year. This launched last year. It wasn't a wow fragrance, so I'm hoping that this is going to wow me a little more. So find out about Burberry's Hero EDP coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Today we're talking about Burberry Hero EDP, a new launch, fragrance created by Aurelien Guichard, Perfumer. You know, I actually met him in Paris back in June. He actually does all the perfumes for Matier Premier. So if you don't know this brand, you should. I have a video on the channel. I'm going to dig into it a lot more. But you know, Burberry is a pretty big luxury house. Their fragrances are pretty mass, so he does different kind of fragrances for obviously designers. But I didn't realize that the perfumer for this had done so many fragrances for Robert Piguet. If you're a fan of that house, you should look up some of the fragrances probably you're wearing some that he created. But anyway, this is Burberry Hero EDP. It's just launching. Let's go ahead and open it up and I'll tell you what it's all about. But before I tell you what it's all about, were you a fan of the original? The original was a kind of a fresh take on woody fragrance. It featured bergamot, juniper, black pepper, and trio of cedarwood oils from the Appalachians, from the Atlas Mountains, and the Himalayas. So the trio of cedarwood oils has been transferred over to the Eau de Parfum, but they have other notes added to the EDP to intensify it. So that's why it excited me. And it has that note of pine needles, and I always like the smell of pine needles. So let's see what happens. The other thing that was exciting about this particular fragrance was the bottle. The bottle looks darker. Obviously, it's a... Here, let's show you both to compare the two. So Hero in EDT, Hero in EDP. So this is a new series of fragrances, and it seems like they're doing woody fragrances. For me, this seems like when Dior did Dior Homme 2020 was all very woody. This, to me, sort of kind of went in that direction, I think. At least it did to me. Do I like this and Dior Homme 2020? They're okay fragrances. They're pleasant, they're woody, they're fresh, and mostly that. With this, I'm hoping that it's gotten a lot deeper and a little more sexy and a little more exciting. But before I smell the fragrance, it does feature notes of pine needles, incense, benzoin, and the trio of cedar wood, which are from the Appalachians, the Atlas Mountains, and the Himalayas. So let's go ahead and spray. Several sprays there. So there's definitely a smokiness about this particular version and a much deeper, warmer experience, which is definitely much more interesting than the Eau de Toilette. I'm picking up not too much of the pine needles for some reason. I just feel like it's a deeper experience of woods and not that fresh, greenish kind of a pine smell that I want from the pine needles. I'm picking up the smokiness from the incense for sure, and there's definitely a warmth there, some slight sweetness from the benzoin. So that's creating a little bit of an ambery experience. There's definitely aromatic touches, and I think I'm slowly starting to develop the pine needles experience. But this is definitely not pine needles like that Serge Lutens fragrance that I really love, Fia Nagui, which is all pine needles, pine tree. But this is somewhat going there. Even the fragrance from Montclair, Pour Homme for Men, has more of a pine needles or pine tree presence in it in comparison to this one. But in the end, it's definitely much better than the original. The original I have a hard time wearing because it just smells so basic. It's not anything really wowing me kind of thing, you know? But I think it's a pleasant scent for folks that want some kind of a scent, but they don't want overly complex or complicated fragrances. Here, I think they've done a little better job. It is intensified. It is taking on an ambery direction. It does have that smokiness, and it's all very, very woody. So yeah, the pine needles I just wish was a little stronger here. Just a little stronger, because I'm not really getting that pine needles or pine tree experience. Perhaps that's the intention, but when I saw that note, pine needles, that got me really, really excited. Really excited. But the fragrance, apparently, let me read a quote from the website, because I took this down from the Burberry website. Burberry Hero EDP opens with vibrant scent of pine needles, blended with benzoin and incense over a signature base of a warm trio of cedarwood oils, creating a powerful fusion reminiscent of a forest growing near the ocean. Yeah, there might be a little bit of an aquatic marine thing here. Not overwhelming. There's actually more of a presence of the aquatic marine thing here in the Eau de Toilette than the Eau de Parfum. And according to what I just read, the pine needles were supposed to start things off here. I didn't get much pine needles to begin with. Sure, it developed into a little bit of pine needles, but it really didn't take that characteristic too strongly. For me, it's lots of woods, and it's that trio of cedar woods from the Appalachians, the Atlas Mountains, and the Himalayas, along with the benzoin, and an initial blast that got smokiness, a resinous touch, an incense touch here with this one as well. So, in the end, what are we left with? Definitely a concentrated version, a more interesting actually wear compared to the original. So the original is really, really boring to me. Some of you might like it. This is very subjective. I always say this. I don't like a lot of very basic fragrances, but it will do the job if you're not really a fragrance wearer and you want some scent. I think it's light enough and unique enough, but still it's not wow kind of a fragrance. Here we still don't have wow, but we have something a little more deeper and richer, which would make it a little more exciting to wear. And I think this is also definitely a cooler weather wear kind of a fragrance, because it does get ambery in the base, so you have that kind of warmth, little vanillic, not too much, because the benzoin doesn't overly go too vanillic, but you know, they've added that kind of warmth here to give it some depth and make it a warm, spicy kind of experience. So those are my thoughts. Would I rush out to get this one? Go test first. See what it's all about. For me, comparing the two together, it's definitely the more interesting of the original, but it's not breaking any new ground. It's definitely a very mass release. I think it'll find an audience. People would like this kind of a fragrance. It definitely is an advancement to the original fragrance to make it a little more deeper and richer and perfect to wear when it's cooler outside, because we are going into the fall. I think this will be a perfect fall fragrance. More fall for me rather than winter, because it doesn't seem like it'll have too much of a deepness for really cold days. But again, there really are no rules. What are we left here? You know, it does sweeten up. It does definitely sweeten up, and I could see that it's trying to replace something vanillic, but it's not quite vanillic, if that makes sense, because benzoin does have that sweetness that I really like. One of my favorite benzoin fragrances is Benzoin Bohème from Diptyque. There's also Bois d'Harmonie from Guerlain, and then there's the Benzoin from the Moscow city exclusive from Le Labo. Those are some of my favorite benzoin fragrances. Here, it's just kind of there to kind of give it the ambery experience with some sweetness. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Test it out to see if you like it. I like it. I don't love it. It'll probably stay in the box just like this one, the original, for clients to come and smell stuff here in the studio. But I may pull it. But do let me know if you've tried this one. Do let me know if you're a fan of the original, and what are your thoughts on the Eau de Parfum. Definitely to me it's more interesting than the original, but some of you might like the original and stick with the original. But anyway, that's all I could say about the Burberry Hero in the EDP concentration. But do let me know if you've tried it and what are your thoughts about it. And after watching this review, would you rush out to get this particular fragrance? Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Hey, I do have a question for you guys. Do you want to see more reviews on designer fragrances, or would you like me to do more niche? I've asked this question before. A lot of you said niche and a little bit of designer. Do you consider Burberry a great house for fragrances? Is there a list of Burberry fragrances that you love? Now that we're on to this Burberry Hero series of fragrances, what has happened to Mr. Burberry series of fragrances that Francis Kurkdjian started when he was doing a lot of fragrances for this brand? I feel like Aurelien Guichard has now taken over the series. I wonder if he's going to create any feminine fragrances for Burberry as well. But for me, with Aurelien Guichard, I think this house that he does all the perfumes for, it's a house he has fronted with a couple of other business partners. So basically, he's doing a lot of great fragrances. Incense Suave, or Suave is what I should say, is definitely a great fragrance. Their sandalwood is Santal Austral is really great, and their leather is really, really great. But the collection is really a great, solid collection of fragrances here with Matier Premier. So if you like his work here for Burberry, you definitely need to check out the fragrances of Matier Premier. And as I said, I do have a video on the house. I did an overview, first impressions from a discovery set, and you can go watch to find out what I think about the fragrances from that house. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today. Please like this video, please share it. Bye-bye. Guys, I'm actually doing a second bonus section here in this video because after wearing this on my hand and letting it dry, the dry down on this fragrance gets a little musky, almost like sweaty, like almost to the point of there's like cumin under there, but it doesn't come right through, but it's more like human sweat and funk. I don't know where that's coming from, but this has a muskiness and a little bit of a sweatiness, a little funk that's trapped under there. So this might actually not work really well with people. I don't know, I'm getting it. Perhaps you might not pick it up, but there's definitely a slight animalic funk, sweaty funk in here in this particular fragrance in comparison to the original. So that's very unique to me that they would add something like this. Could be my body chemistry, could be, not appear on your wear, but for me, that's what I'm getting. It does sweeten up quite a bit, and it becomes very woody, and there's that appearance of a slight bit of cumin. That's where I'm getting the sweatiness from, and also no showing of the pine needles. I mean, I'm thinking that there might be some pine needles here, but the pine needle note just doesn't come up at all. But there is that funk, and it might be off-putting to some people. I'm still not sure about this one. It's definitely better than the original, but definitely, I don't think this will be masked. If everybody else like me is going to get that funk, I think they might be turned off of it. But I think it's a little breath of fresh air. I'm not saying this is any groundbreaking type of a release or anything, but it definitely adds some uniqueness to the fragrance. Even though I wanted that pine needles note to show up, now I've got this kind of appearance of a little bit of a sweaty funk that appears when you wear this particular fragrance, especially in the dry down. Anyway, this is a longer than normal video, but I really wanted to report back on this one and let you guys know. I still think this will be perfect in the cold, because in cold weather I don't think that funk will appear, but for me, when I get a little sweaty or a little when I perspire a little, that's when any kind of animalic notes that are in fragrances would appear more, because it connects with the sweat and the perspiration and things like that. So anyway, just reporting on continued wearing of this one. It's Burberry Hero EDP. What I'm trying to say is let me know what you guys get with this particular fragrance when you wear it. Do you experience the same thing that I'm experiencing? Do you get no pine needles and a little bit of a sweaty funk? Do put a comment down. Thank you. Bye.